Thank you so much, Bill. I just have to tell you, I got a message from somebody that used to be in my congregation back east, and one of the things he complimented me was your playing. He says he loves to hear your playing. So you're world renowned. So thank you so much. So welcome. It's kind of weird looking at you all from this level. It's been 3 months, of like looking at everybody at eye level. And so it's really great. And it actually comes at a really good time because it fits with where we're at in the quest. So some people are going in the quest class. Some people are doing the quest on their own. Some people are just doing it with our Sunday. But we're at that point in the quest where they talk about this is like not the dangerous part, but the part that really takes a lot of balance. And so when we're on a spiritual path or the hero's journey, which the quest really follows the hero's journey, the hero goes off and they get the calling and they're on this quest and they reach a point in the quest toward the beginning, the first point, where things get really difficult. And if you think about it in your own life, whether it be a spiritual journey, a healing, or whatever, there's usually this time you're going along and everything is great, and then you hit a snag. You hit something and you have to go through something difficult, and it's really hard, and that's where we're at in the quest. And so one of the things that they talk about that we have to be careful when we hit this difficult time in our journey is realizing that we are personally powerless over a lot of things. Because what happens is sometimes when you get to a snag, what you want to do is we want to push our way through, right? We're going to get through that difficulty by hell or high water. We don't care what we have to do. We're just going to push hard enough and we're going to get through it. But that's not what we need to do. What we need to do is kind of stop and step back and see where we're at. Because it seems like the answer is to just push harder. But very often when we're in a difficult place, pushing harder is not the answer. So for me, it's like perfect because I went to the doctor Friday and he said, if you can find a shoe that fits, literally, you can get into shoes. So of course I was determined that I was going to find a shoe that fit, no matter how many stores I went to go to. And he said to me, he says, you're going to know if you go too far because your foot's going to swell up. And then the next day, your foot's still going to be swollen. And that means you have to push back. Well, I'm one of these people, I like to push through, personal powerlessness, whatever. I'm going to just do it. And then he said to me, which is so interesting because this is what it talks about in the quest. He says, this is the most difficult point in all of this, because this is where you're going to want to go farther, do more, and you actually have to do it at a slower pace. So this thinking that we have that we can force our way through the difficult time is really against our better nature, what is good for us. So this idea, and it talks about this in the quest, this personal powerlessness means that we are powerless over a great many things. I have a friend who says that imagine a hula hoop around you. We are powerless over anything outside of our hula hoop. The only thing we have power over is what is within us. We cannot control people, places, things, circumstances. No matter how much we may want, say, rain today, we can't make it rain. No matter how much we may want a healing for somebody, that may not be possible. No matter how much we may want to win the lottery, we may not win the lottery. We don't have any control over that. The only thing that we have power over is our reaction to things, how we deal with the things that life brings us. We can't change life. That is, we can pray, we can change our mindset, we can change our thinking, but we can't change other people, places, and things. You can't make somebody love you. They're either going to love you or they're not going to love you. Because even if you try and force it, the time is going to come, something's going to come up, and it may not work out. You can pray for a healing. You can affirm healing, but the fact of the matter is there may be circumstances which you have no control over, which are going to determine your healing. It could be something as simple as the surgery or something like that. There's a lot of things that we can't control, but we try so hard to do it because it is scary to believe that we're powerless. Because if you look at TV and the movies and everything, what do you see? Superheroes, right? They can do everything. Everybody wants to be a superhero. Doesn't matter what the power is. It could be some ridiculous power or some big power, but everybody wants to be a superhero because we're brought up in this country to believe that all we need is enough determination and enough power and we can get through anything. But the truth of the matter is there are things we cannot get through. And when we realize that we can't get through certain things, then we realize we have to turn to a power greater than ourselves. Because there are things that we cannot do that only a power greater than ourselves can do. And we have to learn that. We have to learn what can we do and what can't we do. So for me, it's like, sometimes you get overwhelmed with life, right? I don't know if anyone else has had this problem. Life gets stressful. You have more than you can handle. Just things aren't going well. And the idea is I think, well, I just have to work harder. But the matter is that I may be working as hard as I can work. And I have to depend on something greater than myself that is within me to give me the power to do what I need to do. That used to happen a lot when we had our retreat center. There was always more work than we could possibly do. We had 40 acres, we had 3 buildings. It was more than we could handle. And I can remember one time I was supposed to have dinner. I was the cook. People were coming at 5 o'clock. It was 3 o'clock. I was also one of the janitors, along with Christopher. We had like 5, 6 bathrooms to clean and 2 kitchens. And I'm just overwhelmed. I am thinking there is no way in 2 hours I am going to get everything done and get this food done and be ready for these people to come. And I gave up. I just said, I can't do this. I just prayed, I cried, and then I prayed, I said, I can't do this. You're going to have to do this for me. And I can't tell you how everything got done. But everything got done. Because the thing about powerlessness is when we realize that we're powerless and that it takes a power greater than ourselves often, we learn to surrender. That's another word we don't like to hear in this country, surrender, right? You don't surrender. There was a saying years ago about, don't surrender, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that we need to surrender in order to win. It's not who is standing last that wins. It's who winds up growing and enveloping and developing in their spiritual life. And we learn that through surrender. When we realize that we of ourselves, our little self, is powerless over something, then we turn to that greater self, that power with a capital P. And we surrender to that power. And we allow that power to work in and through us. Folks, if you depend on yourself for everything, you're going to come up short-handed. You are always going to come up short-handed because there are things we cannot do on our own. For me, this powerlessness and the surrender are pretty easy because I come from a 12-step program. And when you've been at a point in your life where you are at a complete low and nothing you have done has worked out, and anything anyone around you has tried to help you has not worked out, and you realize that you are powerless over whatever has gotten a hold of you, it isn't until you surrender and you turn it over to a power greater than yourself that you find what you need in order to move forward. It is such a core of that, and it fits in every area of our life. If you are having financial difficulty and your bank account says you have X number of dollars in it, but you know that month you need this number of dollars and it doesn't seem to work, when you've done everything that you could humanly do and still you are short, the answer is to surrender. It's to give it up. And miracles happen. And they're not necessarily miracles like winning the lottery. Like one time I was short for my electric bill. I didn't have the money for the electric bill was like $45. I didn't have $45. It didn't matter. It could have been $45,000. It wouldn't have mattered. You either have it or you don't have it. And I remember thinking, I just don't have the $45. So I thought, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm working. I'm doing everything that I can. I just cannot materialize this $45. And so I turned it over and I said, God, I don't know how I'm going to come up with this $45 because they're going to turn off my electric if I don't. But I'm turning it over to you. And I went to my mailbox and guess what? There was a refund check from somewhere, I don't even know where, for $45. Now, first I thought it could have been nice if it was $4,500 because I did have other bills that were coming up, but I thought I got exactly what I needed because that's how the universe works. We get what we need. We may not get what we want, but we always get what we need. But we don't get that until we let go. That saying of let go and let God. God does not work in our life until we let go. As long as we're sitting in the driver's seat saying, I've got it, I've got it, I've got it, and we put God in the passenger seat, guess what? Who's driving the car? Not the one we want to drive the car, not the one we want to decide where our life is going, but we're trying to decide that. So we have to realize that we are not the be-all, all of everything in our life, that everything outside of us we have nothing to say about it. We have nothing to say about the weather. We have nothing to say about, what people out there do. We only can decide how we're going to deal with it. Do we look at it as an opportunity for growth? Do we look at it as an opportunity that maybe we can learn something from this? Do we ask ourselves, what is the lesson in this for me? What am I afraid of when it comes to giving this up? Why do we think that we have to hold on to this stuff no matter what? What do I need in order to let go of it? There's that picture of the cat. Have you ever seen the picture of the cat hanging on like for dear life on a string, and that cat is going to have to let go at any point. Well, I used to have a T-shirt that Christopher got me, and it said, I finally got a grip on life when I learned to let go. Because I'm one of those people, I like to hold on to things. I somehow think I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to get the answer, and then I'm going to correct it. No matter how many times in my life I didn't get the answer until I let go. And I allowed God to work in and through me. Because our problems are often God-sized, and trying to fix them on the human level never works. We can't fix a God-sized issue on a human level. What we can do is work on ourselves. We can work on ourselves. We can work on our attitude. We can look within to see if we're living our life with fear or with faith. How are we looking at things? Are we looking at the glass half empty or half full? What are we doing with what we can control, which is our minds, our thinking? Part of our actions. It's like we can sit there and complain about our health, but guess what? If we're eating garbage, we're not going to be that healthy. That's something we can control. But so we have to remember that this idea of powerlessness and surrender go together. Because without the surrender, without letting go and turning it over to God, being powerless can be scary. But when we know there is a power greater than ourselves that is always available to us, folks, it is always available to us. There is nothing that goes on in our world, in our life, no matter how scary it may seem, that God cannot handle. But we have to give it to God. God is not going to come and take it from us. And so we might hold on, and the longer we hold on, guess what happens? The problem gets bigger and bigger, and we get more and more tired. We get frustrated. We get angry. We start having our personalities change. we start finding that we don't do as well in the world because we're holding on to our conception of what we believe our life should be, instead of allowing God to show us what our life is to be. And it may not look like we think it should look, but it will be what God wants it to look like. And that's always going to be better than our own plans. Our own plans for our life are never big enough. They're never big enough. But we have to be willing to let go. We have to be willing to surrender. We have to be willing to understand that we have to let go and let God. So take a moment and close your eyes. And I'd like you to imagine something going on in your life right now that may seem overwhelming. And you're really working on this. You're trying so hard to make this work. It might be a healing that's not happening fast enough. It might be financial issues where it seems like there's just never enough. It might be relationships, either lack of or relationships that aren't working out as you wish they would. It might be your spiritual life not being what you think it should be. Begin to accept the fact that there are things that we are personally powerless over. That no matter how much we struggle and work and push and shove, it just doesn't get done. It's like watching a fly stuck in your car, pounding out a window to get out. And no matter how many windows you open, that fly just keeps working at that one window that is closed. God is opening windows for you to let yourself be out of whatever you're stuck in. But you have to be willing to turn it over to God, to be open, to find that little escape out of whatever you're dealing with and into the light. God never leaves us to deal with our troubles and our perils alone. We have to be willing to realize we may not know the answer and be open to receive the guidance by surrendering. God, thy will, not mine, be done. And when we do that, we tap into a power greater than anything we can possibly tap into on our own. We need to surrender to win. And when we do, amazing things happen. So we say, thank you, God, for the power within me to keep me going and for showing me the way. And so it is. Amen.